This time, we moved into an entirely new area in Arizona, a place where the dry terrain, dense low brush, and rocky crevices made both movement and trap placement far more difficult than before. Fresh wild hog tracks still appeared clearly across the hardened ground, proving that the animals had adapted quickly to the harsh environment here. But the question was whether the traps that had worked so effectively in Texas would still perform under completely different conditions. Or this time, would we need to change our strategy once again just to keep up with them? The first trap was installed early in the morning at a location filled with clear movement trails. With Arizona's dry terrain, I expected it would take quite some time before the wild hogs returned. But everything happened much faster than expected. Only a short while later, the activation signal appeared. There was no time to wait, and we immediately moved toward the trap location. Even from a distance, the movement inside showed that the result was far from small. As we got closer, the entire group of wild hogs had already been trapped inside. Without hesitation, we quickly secured the situation and handled everything before the animals could create any danger. The second trap was placed deep in the forest during daylight, in an area covered with signs showing that wild hogs frequently pass through. Everything was completed fairly early, but this time we did not receive an immediate signal like we had with the previous trap. It was not until late at night that the trap was finally triggered. Because of the difficult terrain and poor visibility, I decided not to take unnecessary risks by approaching during the night, and instead waited until the following morning. When we returned to inspect it, the result was obvious. The trap had successfully held several wild hogs after many hours inside the enclosure. And as usual, we quickly secured the situation and began collecting everything before moving on to the next location. The final trap was left overnight in a hidden section of the forest. Through the monitoring cameras, we confirmed that the trap had been triggered during the previous night, when the wild hogs returned along their familiar movement route. The next morning, without hesitation, we headed directly toward the final trap location. The moment we arrived, everything became clear. The wild hogs were still trapped inside after spending hours confined within the enclosure. Without wasting time, we quickly brought the situation under control and handled everything, bringing the final trapping operation in this area to a close. When a final trap had been checked, our entire operation in Arizona also came to an end. Despite the harsher terrain and the greater challenges compared to previous locations, the trap placements this time still proved highly effective. Every trap, every activation showed that wild hogs still move according to their own patterns, and as long as the right location is found, they can still make mistakes. But that is also why none of this is ever truly finished. Because out there, deep within the dry forests of Arizona, there are still fresh tracks waiting to be discovered, and sooner or later, we will definitely return.
Rising tension when wild boars force urgent action. On an ordinary afternoon in a quiet suburban neighborhood in the United States, the calm was suddenly shattered. Screams rang out from a small hair salon. Customers panicked and ran for their lives. Mirrors smashed, chairs flipped. And right there, in the middle of the room, stood a fully grown wild boar, weighing hundreds of pounds, terrified, out of control. This was not a movie scene. This was one of many real-life incidents recorded as wildlife, especially wild hogs, push deeper into human living spaces. Wild boars are nothing like domestic pigs. A full-grown boar can weigh anywhere from 200 to over 300 pounds. They're fast, highly reactive, and armed with razor-sharp tusks capable of inflicting serious injuries. When panicked or cornered, they can become extremely dangerous. Beyond the direct threat to human safety, wild hogs destroy crops, cause traffic accidents, and carry diseases that can spread to livestock and pets. Even more alarming is their reproduction rate. In a very short time, just a few individuals can explode into a full-blown sounder if left unmanaged. In the past, trapping or removing hogs one at a time was considered a solution. But with today's population size and breeding speed, those methods are proving increasingly ineffective. Wildlife management experts warn that removing only a few hogs often makes the remaining sounder more alert, while the overall population continues to grow. That's why planned, sounder-based management strategies are now being adopted. In many regions, modern trapping systems combined with remote camera monitoring are showing clear results. These systems allow operators to monitor hog activity in real time. Trigger traps only when the entire sounder is inside. Reduce risk to people. Minimize chaos and unnecessary stress. In Texas, one of the hardest hit states, entire sounders have been captured in a single operation. breaking the reproductive cycle before it can restart. Many landowners and wildlife specialists agree. When done correctly, wild hog control does not require reckless or dangerous measures. Boarbuster is one of the systems used across the US as a sounder management solution. The system is built on key principles: open traps that don't alarm hogs at first, remote activation once the full group enters, continuous camera monitoring, maximum safety for surrounding people. This point matters most. Wild hog control is not about sport hunting or violence. It's about protecting people, property, and ecological balance. No one wants animals to suffer, but when a species grows beyond control and becomes a direct threat to communities, doing nothing can lead to far greater consequences. This is no longer just a problem for remote ranches. It's happening in neighborhoods, backyard fences, and places where children play. Without proper management strategies, wild hog numbers in the US will continue to rise, bringing greater risks to both people and the environment. Yet, there is hope. When communities understand the issue, when local authorities and residents work together, and when technology is used responsibly, real progress can be made. After trapping, transport is considered the most critical phase of wild hog management. Every step is carried out carefully and in an orderly manner, with stress and injury risks kept to an absolute minimum. Each hog is guided into reinforced transport crates designed for maximum safety. Every movement is planned, deliberate, and calm, avoiding panic and injury. This is not simply about moving wild hogs. It's a lesson in how humans can manage and coexist responsibly with wildlife. From sudden suburban encounters to responsible management efforts in states like Texas, one message becomes clear. Wild hog management is no longer optional. It is essential for community safety. The actions we take today will determine how safe our environment is tomorrow. According to environmental reports, wild boar populations in some regions have more than doubled over the past few decades. When a wild boar suddenly appears inside a crowded restaurant, on city streets, or right next to residential homes, the question is no longer just what happened, but why are encounters like this becoming more common? Between the need to protect public safety and the responsibility to conserve wildlife, where is the line that allows both humans and animals to coexist? Imagine sitting in a restaurant, waiting for friends or enjoying a quiet meal when an unexpected guest walks in. That scenario became reality on New Year's Day at a barbecue restaurant in Gumi City, Gyeongbuk Province, South Korea, when a wild boar wandered into a crowded public space. In South Korea, wild boar appearing near residential areas is no longer rare. In some forest regions, population density is estimated at 3 to 4 animals per square kilometer. This rapid growth not only affects agriculture, but also creates serious challenges for animal disease control, especially concerns related to African swine fever, ASF. To reduce the risk of wild boar moving into residential zones, control measures are often deployed along forest boundaries. One common method is the installation of specialized cage traps, familiar sights to hikers and residents living near mountainous terrain. These measures are not designed to harm animals, but to manage movement and reduce conflict between humans and wildlife. For people living close to the forest, these traps are not symbols of capture. They represent a fragile boundary between safety and danger. To understand why such measures are widely used, it's important to see how they function in real-world conditions. The operating mechanism of a cage trap is relatively simple. When a wild boar enters to access the bait, it unintentionally triggers the latch system. The front gate drops automatically, securing the animal inside. Most traps are around 2 meters long and built to accommodate large adult boar. Trap effectiveness depends not only on design, but also on weather and boar behavior. During warmer months, abundant natural food makes wild boar more cautious and less responsive to bait. In contrast, winter food shortages push them toward concentrated food sources. Cold temperatures help scent travel farther and last longer, while snow limits mobility. When boar locate a reliable food source under these conditions, they tend to commit quickly, making trapping far more effective.